I think always finding the talent, right, to supplement what you're good at. And I think over time, too, I have become, I can't do it all, right? There's so many, I think, owners that want to do it all because to them, they think it's less expensive, right? Because you're looking at that cash flow and then you think, oh, I can't afford that individual. Well, you need to be able to figure out a way to make them because their return on investment will be huge.
Welcome to the Break Free podcast. I am your host, David Mancilla. I have created this podcast to interview people that are changing this world for a better place, people that are living life in their own terms, and they have reached a level of fulfillment that most of us wish to have. And today I have a beautiful example with us. Sue, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Sue, for the audience, can you tell me your full name, where do you live, and what do you do for a living?
My full name is Sue Perszyk. I live in Chesterfield, Missouri, and I am currently the CEO of Express Medical Transporters.
Express Medical Transporters. What is that business about?
We transport people who typically can't get from A to B without our help. We're talking about senior citizens who may need dialysis treatments or medical appointments. So we help them get to and from typically the doctor's office. And then we also transport quite a few school students who either are special needs kiddos or perhaps have they're in a homeless situation, so that we're transporting them to get them back to their school district of origin. So I love what we do. We really do help people who need our services because they wouldn't be able to get to school or perhaps to critical medical appointments without us. And I actually got in the business because my mom had Parkinson's and I understood all of the transportation challenges that she faced. So this is a wonderful industry to be in.
Isn't it amazing that by you having that necessity in your own family, you were able to get into a business that now is blessing a lot of people? How far is your area that you service?
We transport within the greater St. Louis metro area, and St. Louis borders Illinois. So we actually transport in Illinois, as well as counties west of St. Louis, all the way to Columbia, Missouri. So, south, north, but typically our real sweet spot is probably about a 50-mile radius around St. Louis. We also have a facility out in Maryland that we transport people from it's actually a part of a Department of Mental Health. So we help people get to and from medical appointments out there as well.
That's fantastic, Sue. It must take a lifetime of preparation to be able to hold the position that you're holding, all the responsibility. So let's look back in time. Where were you when you were in your last year of high school? And what was in your head? What did you want to do with your life?
I always wanted to help people. So actually, one of the things I was thinking about was becoming a psychologist. Mm-hmm. And so I actually started school in psychology, but I realized that was going to take quite a few years. And I also loved math, and my dad was an engineer. So at the time, I thought it would be best to actually change my major, and I went into engineering. So I have a civil and environmental engineering degree that I was able to use and then work for Exxon for about 4 years as a project engineer. So I got to see a lot of the world as a result of that. And so that was just a great opportunity for me. And then my business background, I guess I wanted to always be, higher up in an organization. So then I went back to school and got my MBA after my assignment with Exxon. And so then I worked I started as an assistant product manager for SC Johnson, the Johnson Wax company, and worked my way up from assistant brand manager all the way to officer of global sourcing and procurement. So I really cherish the time I had at SC Johnson. They trained me very well from that business acumen, because as you're saying, you may have a great idea, but you need some of that background, how to be able to start something, how to manage it. And I always appreciate all the training that I got from them as a result of my years there.
That's beautiful. Tell me, Exxon, you were probably in your 20s when you got hired by Exxon and started traveling the world. That seems like a dream job for anybody. How did that happen?
Well, I think my spirit is really I loved adventure, right? And I wanted to see the world. And Exxon at the time, that was, and I'm dating myself here, but it was a real oil crisis at that point in time. And they had a lot of special projects, shale oil, coal mining projects. We had projects throughout the world. Then so that to me was so interesting. My first assignment actually was in Sarnia, Ontario, which I know is very close to Toronto, right? So got to, I was, like you said, in my early 20s, and I was in Canada as an expat. So that was great. And then my last assignment was down in Colombia, South America. And so then the economics started to go, change. And then I saw a lot of those key projects starting to close up because it didn't make sense anymore. So that's why, in a way, it was also at that time I thought, it's time to go back to school and then, be able to advance my career. But I'll tell you, there was a lot of people who thought I was crazy, right? Leaving home and, go see the world, but gosh, I had fun. It was a great experience. And I think what's so important is when you do see other countries and live in other countries, you realize we're so much more alike than we are different, right? We all want, good things for ourselves, our families. And I think that really helped me when I was moving up in SC Johnson, as I was global, there's so many different cultures and people that you would meet, but you realize that you peel away all of that, we're just the same. Our core soul is so same, so similar. And that's what, you can really make that connection with somebody when you really realize, we might be on other sides of the table doing negotiations, but bottom line, they want what's best for themselves and their families. And so do we, right? And so it was just, again, I've been very blessed with a lot of great experiences. I call them chapters in my life, right, David? Lots of chapters that I've experienced.
It's funny that you say that because it requires traveling to realize that we are all the same, basically. In the Bible, it says that we are made out of dust. And if people don't believe that, go open a tomb that is 2,000 years old, 1,500 years old, and what will you see there is dust. Our body becomes dust after everything degrades, right?
Right.
My point is we're all made of the same material. Regardless of how you look, we are the same. If you pinch yourself in the pinky or in any of your fingers, you're gonna bleed red, right? Your blood is red. Everybody's blood is red.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think sometimes we are so focused right now on our differences rather than our commonalities. And I really believe that we have to peel that back and really understand and come from our heart as far as how we are so similar. Because like you said, we all bleed red, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that was very helpful, because I, young and coming, I grew up in a small town outside of Madison, Wisconsin, and it was very eye-opening to me, right? And it really has impacted my mindset ever since, as you get older and you, again, deal with individuals and just sometimes you just have to peel back what's really causing their angst, because that deep in their soul, we're very similar.
I had the blessing to migrate from Guatemala to Canada when I was in my late teens. I was 19 years old. And as soon as I came to this country, I realized that there were people with completely different cultures and backgrounds. If you know, like Toronto is one of the most multicultural cities in the world. We have people from all over. And I was coming from a community where everybody talked the same, looked the same, we were all the same, right? So that was shocking culturally for me, but I started to realize that there is value in community where people bring different things from different cultures, right? And that's why this country is so good, because we have been able to live with our differences and work together to make a better country. But it requires traveling. I remember my youngest daughter was born here, and my son also, he was born here. And when they were about to become teenagers, we decided with my wife to take them back to Guatemala and also started traveling with them so they could see a broader perspective, right? Because the thing that what happens with human beings is that you can only judge based on your environment. So
Yes.
if you're in the same environment, you don't understand anybody else's point of view. So we took them out of Canada. We shuffled them for a month in a school in Guatemala. They learned Spanish, and we took them to all the poverty areas to see how kids lived, how they were making a living, how they had to work since they were 4 years old, 5 years old, to help mama and papa get food in the house. And then we started traveling to Colombia and Southeast Asia. And so we traveled for about 5 years. And now if you look at these kids, now they are grown adults, they appreciate everything. They never take anything for granted. And also, they are more tolerant towards everybody else's opinion, which is what we're missing in society nowadays. We get polarized, and then it's my way or the highway, and my way or we've lost that ability to agree to disagree and live in peace, even if I don't believe what you believe, isn't it?
Oh, I wholeheartedly support that. I really believe that every American needs to travel and beyond Canada, right? To really see other parts of the world. To me, working in global sourcing, I got to go to Kenya, to India, Hong Kong, Tokyo, lots of major cities, as well as, India and Kenya. There was a lot of rural areas that we experienced. And to your point, they're trying to make a living, right? And again, it just shows so much appreciation for what you have, and also putting yourselves in their shoes, they're just, again, a lot of them are just really trying to survive, right? Whereas a lot of us think, well, we need to thrive, but they're really, truly just at that point trying to survive. And we have to be appreciative of where they are. And like you said, listen, right? Try to come to that common ground, because we're, like I said, at their core, we're all very, very similar. But I do think that that's one thing that's really lacking in the United States. Some people haven't really traveled outside of, the state that they were born in, right? And there's, even in different states, it's different, right? And I think that is something that's lacking. And I do really support what you're talking about. Traveling is important. And I did the same thing with my kids. I've made sure that they got to see, outside of the United States as well, but but more like Europe, not Guatemala, my friend.
You should have taken them to Kenya. You should have taken them to Kenya,
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that was beautiful. But yes, at the time, I may, one of these days, you never know, take them all back over there. That was awesome. It was an awesome experience.
Tell me, how do you come from having a career already in environmental engineering? How do you decide to get an MBA and get more into the business side? Because that's a completely career shift. Like, what was on your mind when you said, okay, I did 4 years for Exxon, I traveled the world, I know how to do this. You could have just gotten another job in another, oil company, but you decided to go back to school. Why did you do that?
I've always had a desire to continuously grow. And to me, I love building. A part of project engineering is doing projects, right? But then I thought, well, product management is building brands. So that's really the theme of my life, is building brands, building projects, and now building businesses. right? I think that to me is, I guess as an engineer, civil engineer, it's all about building things, but I love that aspect of being able to continuously grow something, right? Nurture it and grow it. And then when I think it gets to be stable, then I get bored. And then it's time to find the next one to build and grow and nurture. So that's kind of my mindset. When I was talking about, they say, well, are you getting bored? I said, well, I'm not bored yet, but certainly I think I have a little bit of an ER doc in me, that sense of urgency, wanting to fix things. And then when, like I said, it gets to a certain level, I go, okay, if it just kind of steady state, time for me to move on, if that makes sense. Because again, in a lot of these companies, you start on, when I worked as in marketing, you're working on different brands, right? I worked on Agree shampoo, then I worked on Glade air freshener, and then I had an opportunity to use my engineering as well as my marketing, and then that's when I went into operations, and from operations was able to get promoted into an officer level, because having that background of engineering as well as business was really helpful, because sometimes we're just talking about different cultures, speak different languages. Engineers may talk, well, it's going to cost, or how much time it's going to take. And I would always say, well, okay, well, how much, if you say it's going to cost X to do it in 12 months, how much will it cost maybe to do it in 6 months? And that was the kind of language the marketing team or the business team needed to know, because really getting something launched faster could make a lot more sense to them, right? Because first to market means, extra advantages. So I think a lot of my success has been able to translate, and be able to talk different business languages between operations, customer service, marketing, and as well as the leadership.
But isn't it so important that you have to be proactive in your own career path, and also that desire of constantly growing something? It's key. Every single person that I have interviewed in this podcast has the same mentality as you have. We have to keep on growing, and the only way to keep on growing something is to grow yourself, right? And so you put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable because you don't know how to do them until you conquer them. And then what happens? You get bored, and then you jump to the next one, right?
Exactly. That is definitely something we have in common, my friend. Yeah.
I run the software engineering firm. We're focused on AI now and doing AI assessments for companies and growing them with artificial intelligence. But before I did my business, I was in corporate for 10 years. And just like you, I will go into a business, automate the entire software team, and then I will get bored, and then I will jump into another job with a higher responsibility and a bigger team. And then I did that 5 times.
Wow.
So when I realized the pattern, oh my God, every 2 years I jump out of a new business and a bigger team. I'm like, this is not sustainable. I'm better open my own business where I have multiple clients, where I can automate their life and grow their profits. And I will never, ever be bored. Guess what? I've been 18 years in my business and I haven't been bored yet.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. That is great. Yes, I think that's probably when I started to get that itch to run my own business, right? Because that was like my next level, right? To become the leader, the boss, right, of the entity. And I think that was something I have enjoyed doing, right? That's a lot of responsibility, because you're responsible to all of your team members, right? You want to make sure that you're performing well so that they have a career and have a lifestyle that they can count on. And so I will say that what we do, though, might not be for the faint-hearted, right?
Yeah.
Because it does, in thinking about this, it does take a mindset that wants to always do better and always wants to help but there is also a lot of people, I think, oh, our lives are easy, right, David? All you do is just talk to people, right? Right? You know, you don't have any worries, right? You don't have to worry about payroll or customers, or there's a lot of things that go into these positions. And you just have to realize that you have to love it, right? And because it's sometimes people will, I don't know if it's jealousy or just because not everybody's willing to do it, right? And then there's sometimes people who may not be as appreciative of what you do, right? Because they just think it's so easy. Being an owner is easy, right? So, and I just want to make people aware that it may not be easy, but gosh, is it rewarding? Is it rewarding? And there's nothing more rewarding than being able to do this. That's how I personally feel.
Yeah, and it's a huge responsibility. I mean, as a business owner or also as a top C-level officer, your decisions impact people in great ways. I have had times in my professional life where one mistake, a wrong decision, caused to get 15 people laid off. And that was on me. Their blood was on me. So people tell me, yeah, you have all this and that, and you have been so successful, and now I run 7 businesses at the same time. But what they don't realize is the sacrifice that it takes to be in this position, especially if you have empathy and you have a good heart. So for me, it's like, you know, they tell me, why are you, why are you so involved in finances still? And I tell them, well, because if I don't manage the finances, my people don't eat. Because I had done that mistake before. We were selling so much that I forgot about the cash flow. And then we had to lay off people because the cash flow was broken, right? And this is their blood is on me. That's what I'm saying, right? So it's not easy to be at the top.
No, and you're so true. I think as an owner, you quickly realize how important cash flow is. And I also learned that, hey, you better make sure that the invoices that you send are accurate. Because can you imagine all the trips that we take? You know, we take over thousands of trips a day, right? And if those trips, one's wrong, that could maybe stop. You know, they start to question something, and all of a sudden the check you're expecting in 30 days might take 45, right? And you're paying your people weekly. There were times I was going into my 401k IRA to make sure I was making payroll, right? And so again, it's very rewarding, but it's challenging in the same respect. And but that's why I am appreciative of some of the learning I got from corporate, right? You know, some of that training isn't important. And as people who are thinking about breaking free, if they can have opportunities to learn more about financing, right, or finance as well as marketing or operations, I think going into something with as holistically as possible, because you may have a really great marketing person, but are they a good leader for the org, right?
Yeah.
And then I think then if you do know that you're just strong in marketing, how are you building the team around you to support that? Because that to me is another key aspect. Do everything you can to get the best team possible to surround you. And I think that is another key to success. And really try to nurture your people so that they see the same vision and understanding of it. And sometimes as you're turning things around, the driver may not see it, but by gosh, we're working hard, to make sure that their lives are better with, better equipment, better wage, all of that. And so they may not see all of the work behind it, but I don't think that's what they need to see. I just want them to be taking care of our clients, and feeling good about that they do have people behind them thinking about all that.
Of course. Now, how long did you stay for AC Johnson?
Almost, I think it was 18 years. It was about 18 years.
So you grew up the corporate ladder there, and you learned everything about business in that organization, right?
I feel, yes, they were very wonderful. I then got, again, that itch to grow. And I moved over to Sara Lee because that was a much bigger company at the time than S.C. Johnson was. But
Really?
yes.
Sara Lee, they're the ones that make the pies, right?
Yes, but they had a meat division, they had the bakery,
wow.
they actually had Airwick, they had other products within their so they had other products within their portfolio. They actually had Coach purses at one time, so they became quite a conglomerate.
Wow.
And then when I joined them, they started to sell off some of that, and then they wanted to move to Chicago. And I said, no, I don't really want to move back north. I liked living further south. And so then I had an opportunity at Emerson, which is another huge company, to work for them because I had contacts. One of my best friends in my Exxon days was a president of one of the divisions. So I went and came here. That's how I got to St. Louis, was through Emerson. So,
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, a little bit of a career change is there, and then I started, Emerson is a phenomenal company, but I was starting to travel like Sunday night through Friday, and my kids were at a certain age. And that's when I started thinking about, okay, that itch to have my own thing, be able to control. I know you have to work lots of hours, but at that point in time, it was important to me to be home. And I think that was kind of the real precipice to make that, or genesis to make that happen, And I said, I'm gonna find something that I own.
It's what a beautiful concept, putting family first always. And I think I made that mistake where I didn't put my family first. I got so involved with my business that I forgot about my family, and as a consequence, I almost lose them. Right? I had to rescue my family after I abandoned them for over, almost 5 years, trying to grow my business. And in your case, that was your motivator to actually start your own business.
Yes.
So because even though you might not, like I remember when I started working with my own business, I'm like, I was lucky if I was going to make 25% of the salary that I was demanding from a big multinational. But I had freedom of time, right? And eventually that 25% became, 50, 100, and that was like 10, 20, 30, 40x what I would have gotten in a job, right?
Yes, I walked away from quite a lot of restricted stock units that sometimes I wonder what, but ultimately I have the best family that you could ever ask for. And I so appreciative of that. So that to me was very important to be able to do so. And so as much as, that money might sound good to your point, made it up, right? And more as a result. And it's interesting too, because when you quit a big those kind of companies, right? These big companies, they all look at you like you're crazy, right? How risky is that? How could you leave this multinational corporation, right? And it's interesting because that's very risky in corporate, right? They've had they change businesses, they sell off businesses, they lay off people, right? And so I had some friends that actually got into some of those situations, and I thought to myself, well, who took the riskier, path? Right?
Well, when you're employed, you have one source of income. When you are a business like you and I, you have multiple sources of income. The worst that has happened in my business life is that I may lose a quarter of my client because of a recession, but that didn't throw me out of business. That just motivated me to replace those people, to replace those companies, and I always strived after that. So it is not easy, but you have multiple sources of income, not only one.
Right.
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 And that's absolutely the biggest lie that people tell themselves, right?
It will keep you happy. It will keep you busy, right? You're not, that will help your boredom if you, because there's always other things that need to be nurtured, right? To keep that going.
How long did it take for you to break even when you started your own business?
Actually, we were I bought Express Medical Transporters at the time was expanding to become franchised, right? So knowing that I was leaving, like you said, a nice chunk of change, right? So I bought what was an existing territory. So it was an asset purchase agreement as well as a franchise. So it was breaking even quite quickly, and we started actually to make money in the first year or so. So that was, again, I went in with a very conscious decision of what we were doing, because I did realize that I'm the major breadwinner. I did not. It would have been very difficult, right, to have taken too much of a hit. So so the short answer is within a year.
That's beautiful. And it's for people that are listening. Number one, it's never too late to start your own business. Number two, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you have a proven business model that works and you find a way to get the funds to get into that business, why would you create something that doesn't exist, that you don't know how long it's going to take for you to break even? For me, it took a while, because I was like, okay, I'm going to become a software consultant. Yay! And then what? Where are my clients? What is my business model? Like, where's my marketing? I knew nothing. So it took a while to break even. It wasn't that easy. When you jump into a business that already has a blueprint, there's still a lot of risk. Don't get me wrong, but it's most likely that you're going to get there faster, just because there is a proven business model that already works. That they can tell you this is how you do things, right? And you follow the path, and then you're successful. And by the way, that's what I did. So when I started my own business and nothing was working, I started following the companies that were like mine, that were successful. And I started implementing their strategies. It just took me a lot longer because I didn't have a handbook, if you will, right?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because that was one of the feedback I always got from my franchisor, is that you're willing to listen, right? Yeah. I think sometimes people go into business because they want to do everything their way, right? Well, I always, and to your point, always trying to learn. And if he had a successful model, why would I want to break it? You may add on maybe different business aspects of it, but certainly why would you want to throw away that model and start your own, right? So you need to listen. There are people that can help you. Like you said, there's people in your industry that were doing well. You listen to them, you learn from them, and you applied it, and one thing to listen, but you also have to apply it.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you are able to listen, it's because you have some level of humility, humbleness in your heart. And that's another huge lesson that I had to learn the hard way. If you are proud, if you have pride, you think that you know everything, therefore you will not listen to your mentors or to other people that have done what you want to do. So it's going to take you a lot longer. But you need to have that humble mentality to say, maybe I don't know everything, and these guys are already successful can teach me something. But you have to have a humble heart. Otherwise, it's impossible. Right?
Yeah, I never thought about, but you're right. I just always am seeking to learn. And if there's a better mousetrap, heaven forbid, why not apply it? I never want to go down. I want as many tools in my toolkit as possible, right? To make that happen. So that is very important to me. And actually, by thinking about it, it may have taken more than 1 year, David, to make that happen. Sometimes how life, as I'm thinking back on that, how sometimes the world sort of glosses, you maybe think you forget some of those hard times. But I'm starting to think, there were some rougher times, when you're starting out, but it got better. There was light at the end of the tunnel, and it might have been more than a year, but you know what I mean?
Of course.
You kind of think about that going, that's probably just sugarcoating that, revisionist stuff, a little bit of history.
Talking about that, in your whole career, not only your business, but your life career, what has been the hardest problem, and how do you overcome that?
I think always finding the talent, right, to supplement what you're good at. And I think over time, too, I have become, I can't do it all, right? There's so many, I think, owners that want to do it all because to them, they think it's less expensive, right? Because you're looking at that cash flow and then you think, oh, I can't afford that individual. Well, you need to be able to figure out a way to make them, because their return on investment will be huge. But I think always trying to find the right people to work with. The other thing as an owner or as a leader right now is that it can get very lonely at the top, and always trying to find other people to sharpen your saw with.
Yeah.
And I still am probably seeking, a true mastermind group, people, because in this world, there's not always a lot like us, right? So I'm always trying to find people that I can learn from. And I think that's still, I'm always looking at if there's a seminar, if it's a real estate seminar, maybe it's another type of, aspirational personal development. I'm always seeking that, those kind of things. So that's always my challenge, because I never thought it was humility, but more of, I never want to be the smartest person in the room, right? And that's important, that you have somebody who can challenge you. And they don't have to say just yes. They may want to debate it, right? Because I think together you have a better decision. And of course, there are certain things that, yes, it's got to be my way or the highway. I'll be honest. But a lot of big decisions, I really appreciate everybody's feedback, because we will get a better strategic, and everybody will be able to salute the flag if they're all working together. But if they don't really have the skill set, they just want you to tell them what to do. And I'd rather work with people that, want to help stir, and navigate, if that makes sense.
For sure. And that fact that it gets lonely at the top, oh my God, it's true. You can never talk to your employees about your struggles or your problems. They are your employees. They depend on you. I mean, I have a board of directors, and I do have the liberty to talk to them about what's going on, and they give me advice. But it's funny, because I started with a mastermind. I went to Vistage. That was my first mastermind back in 2017. From then, I jumped to another mastermind. I ended up, so I've been to 4 different business groups. And this year, I've been called to teach. So I'm actually forming my own business group
now. Can I join?
Yeah. Of course, yes, you can. Because one of the things that I have realized is that all these business groups, they were great, but they were so focused on empowering you to make more money. And I'm at this point in my life with my fulfillment. Yes, I want to keep making more money, but my fulfillment comes from a broader place, like this podcast. How do I give back? How do I actually provide not only economical support to my team, but also emotional support? So I'm building this brand new thing. It's going to be called the Owners in Faith. I don't know where I'm going to start it, but why faith? Because it requires faith to be a great leader. It requires faith to be a business owner. And those are the things that, that I didn't hear from my business groups. And I try to research, it doesn't exist. As you know me, as an entrepreneur, I'm going to make my own group.
That makes sense. Right? Yes. Yeah. Well, I guess I think I was thinking of, you have to have confidence in yourself, right? Because your team counts on that confidence, right? And sometimes you're not 100% sure, but you got to make, it's the best thing that you can do, and they all are looking to you that, yes, this is the right direction, right? So I think what you're saying is that faith. You have to have faith in your abilities and confidence, right? To do so. That makes a lot of sense, David. Yeah.
And also, sitting in a room, just imagine a room of people that have the same or higher level than you are in business, and being able to express a problem and say, guys, I have this problem. How, this is my possible solution, but have you experienced something like this before? I bet you're going to get 4 or 5 different answers, and your solution is going to be 10 times better. And you can rely on these people because you have, confidentiality, number 1. Number 2, these people are also successful business owners, right? So
exactly,
it's so valuable. And on top of that, not only look at the money part side of things, but looking at the whole human side of things, the emotional part, the mental health part. Okay, I have to lay off 20 people.
Yeah.
How do I do that in a way that I can actually help these people leaving get another job, for example? right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that have done what you've done, and they know how to do it based on their mistakes or their successes, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I guess that goes back to sharpening my saw against others that have been in that, and I want to be able to help and give back as well, right?
Yeah.
Because we do have, like I said, so many chapters in my life. And it's amazing that you can help them on what they might think is very, very operationally or very marketing driven, or all those different things that I just love to be able to contribute, right? Be able to help and contribute to for their mental health too, right? As well as the faith of their business. So that sounds great. So just sign me up, put me as one of your charter members.
Awesome. It's so funny. It's life is beautiful once you live your life on your own terms. The problems doesn't go away, right, Sue? But like you said, I got into my business to attend my kids, and it was a family need that sparked your interest in your line of business. And now you're a successful entrepreneur after being a successful leader in corporate. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am to have you on my podcast, because people get in a box. They say, oh, I've been in my business, in my career for 10 years. I've been in my career for 20 years. I cannot change. And that's not true. If you have a passion in your heart, or something happens in your life that requires you for change, all you need to do is step out of that comfort zone and push forward, right?
Yes, and one of the facts from the Johnson Wax SEJ days was that the founder was 68 years old when he started the business, right?
Wow.
Think about that. And the other challenge that I have is that I have so many friends that are retiring, and I just can't see that. I just can't see it, feel it, I always want to be contributing. I always think about, I'm still not that age yet, so I still have quite a few more businesses to go to before, just never give up. I just don't think you should ever, like you said, never box yourself in. If you're so unhappy, right, there is always a much better way, but it takes confidence, it takes courage, right? But you got to break free, as you said in the podcast, because it'll all be so much better for you in the end, because it's what your soul is driving you to do, right? It's aching for you to do that.
For me, retirement is a concept that I never understood, and I will never understand. For me, if I don't add value to somebody else in life, why am I in this world? What is the reason why I'm here? Just to consume? No. If I'm going to consume because I need to live in this world, I need to be able to provide too. You have to become a fountain. I mean, nothing wrong with people that want to retire, but I cannot see myself playing golf 5 days a week or painting. I mean, those are beautiful hobbies that you can do on your free time. For me, retirement is a change of the ways that I contribute back to society. So that's why I have 7 businesses now, right? I'm not focused on one company. I have 7 businesses, and I become, instead of being the CEO of my business, now I'm the chief advisor officer. So I'm contributing in a different way. I'm not doing all the hard work that I used to do before, because I'm blessed and now I have financial abundance. But now I get to do a podcast, for example, right? I have another technology podcast. I have another book coming out on artificial intelligence. I'm proactively adding value to society. And I have been blessed with the time and the resources to do it, you see? But that's not retiring. That's just changing activities to keep adding value.
Absolutely. And I know that there's a lot of volunteer that you can do, or maybe you'd have time. But to me, I want that throughout my life. I want, like you said, I want to be contributing to the day that they put me in the ground.
Yep.
That's my soul. So I was getting blocked about, they start, well, have you planned for retirement? And I go, no, I am not planning for retirement.
Also, I think it's crazy to think about retirement. You have no idea if you're going to wake up alive tomorrow.
That's fair.
I mean, it's good. Yeah, I could have, okay, so listen to this. I could have retired in 2014. My passive income was bigger than my basic expenses. So I could have retired in 2014, but instead of doing that, I pushed the gas pedal to the metal and just say, okay, this is the time to grow because now I can risk more.
Yes,
I can have a higher level of risk because my bottom line is covered as a family, right?
Right,
So
absolutely.
what I'm saying is, it's not about not planning for the future. Of course, you will have to have a plan for the future, but it's naive to think that you know how long you're gonna be in this earth. You could die in 2 hours from now, or you could still alive for another 20 years, 30 years. But you don't know that. Who knows that? Nobody knows that.
No, and I
Right?
think that actually, at least in my case, and like you said, everybody's different in that respect. But to me, I think that it's important for my soul and for my longevity to be active.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so important because if I'm not engaged, I don't feel good. Does that make sense? I really want to be contributing. If not, then I feel something, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do for humanity, right? That's just in my DNA. And so that's
great.
important.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll be doing this, another 10 years from now. You never know, our new chapters in our lives, right?
Fantastic, for sure. So thank you so much for your time. I can't believe almost 50 minutes went by already. We have so much to cover. Thank you for your wisdom, for your time. I'm going to ask you one last question before we end the podcast. If you had access to a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth, what would you write in it?
Have confidence in yourself. I really think that is so many people they get scared. They're scared that the fear of loss, they have so many fears. And I want people to be confident. If your soul is crying out, you're not happy, have the confidence to break those chains, right? Do what you really were put on earth. And to me, I just think that they just think that what we do is risky, my friend. And I just would hate to, go into the ground without ever doing the different things I've done, right? I would regret that so much. And I don't know if confidence is the right word, but certainly to me, have faith in yourself, right? And live to your fulfillment. Because otherwise, I just think you're here for a reason, and everybody needs to really feel comfortable in that reason, right? And do whatever it is that really makes you special, right? Everybody has special powers. And sometimes just identifying what those special powers are. To me, being able to go into turnaround situations or help and make things better is something I love to do. And I think that's what I'm here for. But there's, but I would hate to have always stayed as a project engineer, right? Or just all of those things. I could have been very happy. Could be successful, but not fulfilled.
Yeah.
And that to me is having confidence in being fulfilled and allowing you to go forward.
And you know what it is? It's an identity problem. It's a problem of fear and a problem of identity, right?
Oh, fair. Okay.
You were born for a purpose, and you were given talents and abilities that if you grow them, you're going to bless so many people the way you are doing it, Sue, right? If you know who you are, if you know the value of a human being, if you know that you are made on God's image, like you're made on the image of your creator, and he has given you all these talents and abilities, which by the way are different from everybody else's. If you really realize who you are, just look at the world where you live at, like your brain, the intelligence that you were given, dominion over the whole earth. There is not another animal in this planet that is as intelligent as you and I are, or any human being for that matter. So it's an identity problem, isn't it? And
yes.
Then it's a fear problem. Why? Fear paralyzes you.
Yes.
Fear is not your friend. Fear is your enemy. The fear that I had when I quit that job and the corner office and my huge salary.
Yes, I understand. Uh-huh. I understand.
How do you feel investing in your business, taking all that huge chunk of money and saying, not only I'm going to retire from this company, but I'm going to take all this money and buy into this franchise? That requires courage.
Yep. But my soul wasn't happy otherwise, right? and you got to listen. And then it's listening to what your maker is saying, right? There you hear things, and then it's prodding you. But also, that's why I said about being with people that will sharpen your saw. You can be with people who really have a fear mindset.
Yeah.
And that's important. If you're in a group of all fear-minded people, I don't think that's healthy.
You have to protect your heart. Proximity, it's something that I really treasure and I protect. That saying, it's even in the book of Proverbs, you become the average of the people that you hang around with.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually ancient wisdom. If you hang out with people that are always negative and fearful, you're going to become like them. But if you hang around with people that are positive, confident, and know that they can make a good positive impact in the world, then you will also become like them. That's why I'm making my own group, by the way, because this is it. This is another part of the value of the group, right?
Yep.
You raise each
Absolutely.
other up instead of putting each other down, like what the rest of the world does. Right?
Exactly. Oh, this has been such a pleasure.
Sue, thank you so much. If people would like to ask you more questions or they would like to hire your transport services, where can they find you?
Easiest way is my email address, SPERSZYK@rideemt.com. And I will, if they want to email me, I will definitely give my contact information further, if that makes sense.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sue. God bless and have a wonderful rest of the week.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
That's all for today's episode of the Break Free Podcast. Head on over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Starting your own business can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. Visit davidmansilla.com to pick up a copy of the #1 international best-selling book, Breaking Out of Corporate Jail. Expand what you consider to be possible and reach your full potential. And join us on the next episode.